Yes, I request everyone to be back, and we will be beginning with the last session for the day. Uh, this so we this particular session is from Delhi chapter. We have Kamaljit Singh. Before we can start the session, let me thanks Agile Network India, founding sponsor, Innovation Roots. Uh, Innovation Roots is a leading consulting and training service provider, helping organizations to achieve business agility and beyond. It is one of the leaders in and pioneers of niche publishing services and well known for content collaboration with global thought leaders, authors, and creators. For more information, request you to visit Innovation Roots website www.innovationroots.com. Quick do's and don'ts. Join 5 minutes before the start time. Use high quality speakers and headphones for better sound quality. Please keep your microphones muted and video disabled, as this may cause disturbance and bandwidth issues. Questions will be taken via chat box. Facilitator and moderator will help read out the questions for you. On Please give the feedback forms after the event, post events, so that it will help us to about get the information about the event management. We appreciate your cooperation. So this particular session from Delhi chapter from Kamaljit Singh. The topic is emerging tech trends. Kamaljit Singh is a customer advisor head at SaaS India Institute. He has 18 plus years working experience across Europe, Asia, and India subcontinent, delivering value to organizations and clients for various industry sectors like telecom and finance services. So he has picked up a very interesting topic, emerging tech trends for 2022. Let's hear from Kamaljit. I would like to welcome Kamaljit on behalf of the Agile Network India community. Over to you, Kamaljit.
Thank you so much, Prashant. And I think I just already greeted you all. I'm sure you're having a very informative and a learning Sunday. And it was pretty interesting, to be honest. And had I got the bandwidth, I would have also learned and attended a few of those sessions. But possibly we'll try to be more associated with it. About myself, I think a very quick introduction already done. 18 plus years of experience working with the industry organizations like SaaS, which is a product company primarily into building AI and ML based products, and it has been into existence for more than 44 years. I primarily lead the public sector and the utilities practice within SaaS, which basically focuses on the central government, the state governments, and the utilities, which is the power sector and the oil and gas sector. And we help basically solution artificial intelligence or data and analytics products for these organizations, and these are being very extensively being used around us. And I think sometimes we don't even get to know whether there is a capability of artificial intelligence or analytics being leveraged even by the state governments to service us, and even to the people living in remote places are leveraging a lot of technology there. So with that quick introduction, I think I wanted to cover a topic which is always close to my heart, which is mainly about trends. We see our life changing every time, every day. In fact, as we go along, and the technology has been really evolving. Yeah. All right. So while the topic which I chose was for the key technology trends for 2022, and I was just putting some thoughts around that as to what should I be really talking 50 minutes. To be honest, each trend can take more than 50 minutes to cover in its entirety, giving a view in terms of the foundations on which that trend is being built on, and to a level as to where it will grow. So instead of that, when I was really arriving at those trends, I'm sure you can find these trends being published by a lot of analyst reports like Gartner, Forbes, even learning institutes. They're publishing a lot of trends year on year. What should you really follow is something that should be of prime importance when we think about these trends, and that's where I came up with a term called everything trends about 2022, and which basically encompasses something as what we know of themes around which these trends have been evolving. And of course, my focus is in technology. I will be totally industry agnostic out here in terms of when I cover these trends. And maybe giving few examples of every kind of industry. That could be possibly healthcare, it could be retail, it could be consumer electronics or whatsoever. When we think about these trends, and something which as a community, we all have been working in information technology, and we have been at the forefront of driving the innovations, or in fact, let's the pace of innovation across these. Um, so that was the whole idea as to when we think about everything, what is everything for us is like everything is changing around us, right? The way we used to work is has changed. We have gone totally virtual. The way we used to order food has changed. We're ordering using an app. No more you have to call someone, go through a paper-based menu, and then think about what to order, how to make a payment. Everything around us is changing as we go along, and this is being said by these key themes. Which I will be covering, and I will talk about what are the current trends in those key themes which are really happening and what you can focus on when it comes to your area of interest, or your area of work, or your area of I would say focus when it comes to career development, right? With that, I'll move on. So the first trend I wanted to talk about is everything is moving towards cloud. So it's everything cloud, and well, what do I mean by everything cloud is it's not just about we are looking at cloud being used for by big industries, big enterprises. Even governments are thinking about using clouds. Even a small kirana owner is using cloud in the form of a certain app, right? And that is where the concept of everything cloud comes into picture. In fact, the entire set of strategies for big enterprises or startups or disruptors, when we look at, are thinking that I don't really have to worry about how I will be launching a new product or a service. I know everything can be just simply ported onto a cloud, and that will be able to cater to my needs of the entire life cycle development and basically proceeding towards that. I know a lot of people would be also working in the space of doing solution architectures around cloud. What we need to look at is how cloud has also been involved, right? So when it initially was launched as a point term in 2022 with Amazon launching its services, it was primarily catering to the need of infrastructure requirements, which is basically looking at servers, network, electricity, storage, and that's where the concept of infrastructure as a service initially started off. Further to that, it evolved to a level where we all are aware that we know something about as platform as a service, we know something about software as a service, and I can just put on my credentials and I can start subscribing to those services. But what is really changing in today's world? The cloud, which was being offered by the big industry stalwarts like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and even small players, they all are also evolving, wherein their own products, something which is there on Microsoft may not be there on Google. And similarly, something which is there on Google may not be there on Amazon. Whereas I, as an industry owner or a business owner, may want to leverage a product from Amazon, a product from Google, a product from Microsoft. What do I do? So that's where the concepts are evolving from to a level where I just don't take cloud from one vendor. I can go into concept of something called a multi-cloud. But is that really going to solve my problem? Because I may have to run a separate subscription service or a management service with two different cloud vendors. How do I ensure that the data is being shared and it is secure? And all those, there are again technologies being enabled which are helping and facilitating in the concept of delivering the services which a business or an enterprise needs through the layers of multi-cloud software peripheral applications that are being getting developed. And that is something which we believe is a key trend that will continue to grow in a big way. And obviously, then it will become more and more focused. Something I would say more personalized to certain kind of business sectors, country focused, region specific, and that's where these things will evolve. And I'm sure when we're looking at, let's say, even applications, the applications have to have an inherent capability to be cloud native. Now, when do we say cloud native is that it'll have a platform or a software or a language which it uses, which possibly can be deployed not just on one cloud and can be migrated onto the other. So you're not just placing your risk in one single cloud and getting stuck there. So that's the key trend which is happening around when we say everything cloud. And within that, like I said, you started off with something as a private cloud or a public cloud, then moved on towards something as a hybrid cloud, where the organizations which did not trust cloud so much, they wanted to push some application onto a public cloud and then send more of data and more sensitive application onto their own data centers, which is where a hybrid cloud came up. And now, where with the trust being built, we have something as multi-cloud, where organizations are simply thinking about, let's not have some anything on my data center. I can simply port it to multiple clouds in terms of getting all the services which I need, right? And of course, there would be a transition where some organization will continue to retain capabilities within their own data centers. But what they are doing out there is they getting these cloud vendors to help establish a data center, having with a view of I would say the entire capabilities and a framework of a typical public or a private cloud being set up by these enterprises. So that's another big trend that will come in the coming years. Then move on to the next one. Something I'm sure you all have heard about, which is artificial intelligence, machine learning, and I'm sure some of you are already working in this space in terms of developing applications, developing codes, leveraging open source platforms to develop applications which can be artificially intelligent, have capabilities to do machine learning, and be able to churn out the kind of services or the experience that is intended for the end customer. But what do we see is changing over here? Artificial intelligence has been evolving, as we know, in the last 2 decades. Obviously, it has seen a monumental rise in its adoption. Everything around us, starting from a simple, let's say, the the wearable that I'm having, this, which is a smartwatch. It's tracking my health, right? It's tracking my routine. It's tracking when do I wake up in the morning, at what time do I go to sleep. I can have capabilities to feed in information, and all that information gets pushed back into the systems where these artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithms are reading my habits and forming a pattern and generating those insights which can help me get a better experience about my own routines, right? Even which is subconscious. Sometimes I'm not even sure as to what is really happening, and it can possibly recommend, you've been sitting on the chair for my last 45 minutes. At your age, you should be getting up and possibly doing a bit of stretching. It can track my daily steps and guide me in terms of that I'm short of, let's say, 3,000 steps, if I have to put a target of 10,000 steps, and so on and so on. But what's going to happen when we think about everything AI/ML is that when you are devising, or let's say you're taking customer requirements, or you're working with industries which are strategically looking at adopting AI/ML, they are talking that everything should be AI/ML enabled. To a point, when we interact with a lot of oil and gas customers, the big petrol pump suppliers, if you think about OEMs, they are thinking of how can I leverage AI/ML to understand the petrol demand at a retail level. They're not even looking at distributor level these days, right? So they want to understand my personal traveling patterns, get an understanding about the kind of car I drive, when do I drive, how often do I drive, which are the specific petrol pumps that am I using for getting my petrol filled. Can I introduce some sort of loyalty program so that they get a stickiness into it? And all this is again getting enabled by AML as an experience. I wanted to use some use cases so that when you start applying it in your course of action, you need to think as to how is it going to change everything around you, right? How is it going to change the business that you're working for? How is it going to change the key business objective or the requirement that you have captured from the customer? In case you're working on these kind of projects. In case you're not working, then you need to make sure that even if you're looking at automation projects, you need to drive the outputs of automation to enable AI/ML to get those insights and possibly take a feedback loop into your business processes, which should be also more agile in nature, right? So that's what I wanted to cover from the aspect of, when we think about everything AI/ML enabled, and that's what is truly happening. No more are we designing softwares which are not intelligent. No more are we designing applications which are not intelligent. We are not building processes, frameworks which does not have an element of intelligence or smartness when it comes to technology. So, and at the same time, this also means that software developers need to understand or learn multiple disciplines. It's not just about, let's say, you're a front-end designer, designer, or you're someone who works at the back end, you're someone who works with the database. You need to understand that at every stage you will have AI ML capabilities to be adopted. You are getting databases which are itself self managed. You're getting applications which can be self moderated. All those things are being built basis the code that you develop, right? So everything will be AI ML enabled as we go along. So that's another trend I wanted to cover. uh, all right. Coming to something which I think would be more appropriate for the developer community, which is everything ops. Again, these terms I've coined it, but if you look at what is the key trend when it comes to XOps, I'm sure most of us have started a career in IT, and we understand that the entire concept of software development lifecycle has to go through a stage of requirement, putting into a design, then further developing it, doing unit testing, uh, system integration testing, then further deploying it, and then if you have to make a change, then I have to go through the entire cycle, and all those things really have, and it takes its own sweet time. And I'm sure this has evolved over a period of time, and especially with the concept of, let's say, frameworks or discipline of DevOps, right? Which is not only just looking at technologies which is enabling DevOps, but it's also putting those frameworks in a nature where a very smart feed forward or a feedback loop can be established, so that anything that gets developed by a developer or designed by a designer, it goes through the process into the cycles where it can be quickly put into production, right? Tested and further put into production. And these were very, very relevant and are still very relevant for from the concept of software design and development. The same principles have actually evolved onto the sides of data and analytics, and I would talk more about that because that's what I've been doing for the last 18 years, mainly for focusing on how we can help enterprises be more agile when they have to deploy data and analytics or implement data and analytics projects. Right? And that's where the concepts have evolved from DevOps to moving on to data ops or something as data pipelines, which basically means that you can integrate data with multiple data formats, different data sources. It can be coming through APIs, it could be coming through file FTP transfers, it could be scrapping through the web or HTML pages. You should be quickly be able to design those pipelines without really having to write too much of code, deploy those pipelines very quickly, do the transformation on the data, and then make it available for next use, right? And this is where you'll have something more concept if you're building an AI ML capability or an analytics capability where you'll have to deploy models. Once you've got the data in, the idea would be to more now use that data to generate insights or generate business outcomes, right? This, which could be for individuals when if it's an application driven outcome being addressed through an app or a website to deliver the kind of experience individual needs, or it could be basically giving a decision insight for a business stakeholder, for a marketing to get a view in terms of which are the most contributing channels of sales for an organization, right? So how do you do that? You basically now start building your model ops or deploying these models at the same time. You don't have to really create a test set and then deploy a model and then further think about fine tuning this model with the test data and then deploying it in production. You want to do it at a speed at which the data is getting generated, and that's where the model ops comes into picture. And this again, these frameworks are further evolving. The decision ops and AI ops is coming into picture, where you're not even thinking about first developing a data pipeline or a data ops capability, then developing a model ops separately, and then further developing a decision ops and ultimately the AI ops, where the intelligence can be really deployed into production. You have technologies which are enabling this entire life cycle to be managed, and also being principally done through frameworks to enable and deliver these things along the way. Please do share your questions on the chat box, and towards the end I'm sure we'll be able to talk through more. All right, so please keep that in mind. I'm happy to take those questions very specific to program. If you have more from the aspect of career, if you have more questions from the aspect how these trends going to influence your day-to-day life, I'll be happy to connect with you separately on that. So that's basically everything ops. I'm sure you'll have more frameworks, more trends coming out, and that's even the principles of software development, which we do employ in our daily life, which could be waterfall agile, which could be a hybrid of waterfall agile, and with different techniques of Kanban and all. Ultimately, you want to make sure that you are able to track the business objectives, give small output deliveries, which could be sprints, and ultimately make it available for the business output. And again, these principles have to be applied to a sub level. We cannot be looking at a solution as a monolith. You have to think about small areas. If you're thinking data, you have to think about data ops. If you're thinking models, you have to think about model ops, and ultimately you need to look at decisions and outputs. When it comes to ERPs, again, similarly, you need to make sure that all the automation can happen with the similar principles being applied. So that's where you will see a trend of everything ops really around coming along, and you have to be able to understand what technologies are enabling it and what new frameworks are being coined by the industry communities or forums, which are leading this basic principle. Next area, I want to talk about a trend of automation. I'm sure automation has been there, and we know that from the factory floors that typically automation was being applied there to automate the manual tasks of lifting heavy devices or equipment and automating and making sure that it gets delivered. Now the concept of automation is being applied everywhere we're talking. If we look at this entire conversation, what we are having is being driven automatically using the applications which are able to present me over video, right? This is automated. No more have to click 10 times some places and you will get the output. In fact, when you guys scheduled for the to attend this session, there was an automation being put in place in terms of sending you reminders, creating a calendar event, then further sending if a notification onto your mobile phone as an alert through the app. Further to that, if you have on a watch, it will possibly ring an alarm on your watch. That's where the concept is being applied to a level of which is not about physical, tangible, or the experiences. So when we are designing products, we need to make sure that how and the entire process. We cannot have jobs which have to be scheduled manually, which can we cannot have schedules of codes which will run on a certain predefined ways, right? We have to automate the entire process so that the manual intervention really reduces. Uh, Out here, if we look at what is going to be a key trend setter going forward, is the automation from different applications talking to each other. So, and of course, that will get enabled using AI/ML, where your Alexa app is getting integrated with the Outlook. Your Outlook is further getting integrated with wearable device. It could further be integrating with your, let's say, an application in your car, which basically tells you, what route to be taken and where to take. And that automation is going to grow. So to a level where it is self-managed from every facet of your life, and you won't even get to realize that it's getting automated as you go along. And it's going to be very contextualized to individual needs. It's going to be very much individual centric, and of course enterprise centric, and then obviously businesses are using it the way they want, right? We're seeing healthcare devices being which are being put in as implants in humans for, let's say, treating any kind of disease. They themselves are becoming quite automated. A pacemaker is basically sending an update about the battery life of the pacemaker. It's also measuring the vitals of the individual, and that entire process is automated. Nowhere you have to really go and take out the pacemaker to get the health of the that's where the level of automation will come, and that's why everything will have to be automated when we think about key trend. And if I talk about something, Gartner, which also talked about a certain trend in the automation, uh, which is mainly looking at composable applications. The idea is that you can compose, or you have templates or themes that you can use to compose the kind of workflow you want to automate with, and basically deliver the output that is needed for the business outcome that you want to drive with your end customer, right? Or even for your employees, your entire HR analytics is getting automated, where a CV filtering process, it becomes very difficult for HR hiring managers to simply go through a process of sifting through hundreds of CV applications and deciding which candidate to be filtered for first round and then further taking it to second round. You have capabilities where a computer vision is reading, if it's a scanned document, otherwise if it's a PDF document, you're reading that unstructured data and basically the topics or the entities to understand which candidates are most suitable basis the rules defined. And then those candidates are further automatically getting emails or communication about their first round getting scheduled. Automatically again, the individual would be taking his interview, is informed using the entire automation process life cycle, and then ultimately the entire scoring and the recruitment process is also automated in our framework. So that's what we should look at. If we look at from a tangible uh, physical devices, what is getting automated or what is really going to be as a capability is that you'll have more usage of drones, you'll have more self-governed, self-driving cars, again, something which you can view that's going to happen. You will possibly have flying taxis, is what I've heard, which could be all automated. And that's where the world will be headed in next 10, 20 years. So all reality of science fiction Hollywood movies coming in our own generation to witness is what I can perceive. Uh, Another trend I wanted to cover now, since we've covered technology and we've covered some frameworks, I also wanted to talk about as to how the business models have evolved. And again, something I feel as it's important to understand why, as a software developer or as a solution architect or as a program manager, what am I really driving towards? Right? I'm sure we do get the requirements from the business that this is what we have to do. But ultimately, what are we really driving towards, and why is it that really happening across around us? And this is where what I wanted to highlight is everything around us is becoming as a service. So the no more are you buying products. Right from cloud was the, I would say, the pivotal shift or a paradigm shift when it came to products being purchased by enterprises. You had to really build a data center, buy servers, racks, storage, software, everything, right? It had to be like a capex investment. So that's where the model actually shifted from, where the businesses had to de-risk putting in too much investment upfront and make it into from a capex model to an opex model. So basically, you are operationally spending as you use the service. So that's the big mind shift change which we are seeing from a enterprise or a corporation or even governments to an extent are already using going into the model of not budgeting for upfront fees but basically spreading it across. So this is where the entire concept of product versus service is coming. Every product is being designed in a way that it can be sold as a service, right? There were times when we used to buy music cassettes in my generation. Then we had to buy, obviously, to evolve towards CDs, discs, and now I don't have to buy anything, right? I can just do a subscription and I can get all the music that I want, right? That's where the model shifted. So earlier, I would possibly spend 200 rupees to get a cassette or 300 rupees to get one disc. All I need to do now is possibly pay 129 rupees as an individual to YouTube, and I can get all the music that I want. So a product translated into service. So from an enterprise which is now moving from a capex to an opex model, individuals are also moving in the same direction. We don't really want to put up money up front. We want everything to be delivered as a service. If I talk about some industry uptakes that are happening, and I would wanted to give an example, basically even from the uh, infographic which I'm presenting, what you see is a washing machine, and what you see is that there are a couple of people servicing it. But that's not the service I wanted to talk about. We are looking at industry, consumer durables, changing the entire product selling strategies again to a level where it is also going to become a service. There are water purifier companies which have launched water purifiers which are IoT device enabled and have an app, and they don't want you to pay 15,000, 16,000 rupees upfront to get the device installed at your home. They would possibly charge 500 rupees for an installation, and you will have a 16,000 or 20,000 rupees device of water purification RO getting installed in your home. So what do you pay for? You pay for the water consumption out of it. So again, a product getting delivered as a service, and more so, it's basically helpful for enterprises also to have a future revenue getting recognized early to build and scale up. It is helping consumers not to spend upfront, and that's how the industry is basically synergizing in the way they spend, moving from the capex to opex. We are also doing the same, moving from that capex to opex model on our monthly spendings. So everything that is getting designed around a service, and that's what has actually disrupted the entire businesses for the old brick and mortar kind of companies. They all have gone into this entire model, and even if you think about consumer durables, tangible products, they want to launch it as a service. Can I package it as a service is something which is of focus. Now, how do you make that enable is again the entire set of categories of, let's say, other trends which are covered, or let's say themes which are covered, is making it happen and enabling it, right? So when you're deploying or let's say installing an RO at your home, it is connected through internet using an IoT device, and then the entire concept, the automation, the AIML, which is basically learning about my water drinking needs, the monthly charge, the payment to be done automatically, everything is getting enabled because of that technology getting delivered using cloud to me, and that's where my entire experience is basically changing. So when we're thinking of designing products or let's say a complete service, that's what we are actually aiming towards, and this is the biggest trend which is driving the innovations in a lot of sectors, a lot of verticals. Major disruptions have come in the same way. Okay. So this is something which I wanted to cover from the understanding that when we're thinking technology, let's also understand business, which is driving the need for making those changes in the technology. Right? Moving ahead, I think in a way I did touch upon some of the areas of personalization, but it was being done in silos, to be honest. I think our first thought does come around smartphones, right? Or let's say media through Netflix. These are two areas where we think that personalization is truly happening. But this as a trend, what we have heard, and it's been there for last 2 or 3 years, is something called hyper personalization, where everything as a service that is getting delivered, the experience, the software, the application have to be personalized to individuals, right? So even if you have those options onto your app, the icons will have a capability to dynamically change basis what I use most, right? Something, if you're using iPhone, you will find on the first screen certain app icons which continue to change every day basis the my usage pattern. So that's the level of personalization phones are doing. You can imagine how the level of personalization an e-commerce company like Flipkart or Amazon would be doing to ensure that they are able to understand your needs, leveraging AI/ML at the back end, help you with the entire process of identifying a product which is of uh, your interest, your taste, and trending in the market, right? It will obviously show you colors that are colors that you like more. Further to that, the entire checkout process is also personalized. Someone who's comfortable with paying through Paytm will have a Paytm being shown as a first option. Someone who's comfortable paying through internet banking will get that personalized experience even at the checkout, right? Someone who's more comfortable with credit cards, and possibly I might have uploaded 5 or 6 credit cards, but the application will learn that basis my past transaction and my payment patterns or habits, it would recommend personalized automated way of getting that payment done, right? So if I'm using more of Amex for my payment, it will show me that as a first option when I have to really check out or make a payment for my product. That's a level of trend. I mean, that's the thing which is being driven from the aspect of personalization. You would find personalization as a trend which was there, which will continue to evolve further. I'm not sure if there is going to be another coin term for hyper personalization, wherein I may have a personalization not just at my individual level. I may have a personalization basis seasonality, basis my shift of country, and everything should happen that way. So they can really do to that level. That's something which will continue to evolve. With AIML, I'm sure the pace at which electronics are learning about us, the pace at which e-commerce e-commerce websites, your taxi sites, your aircraft, airlines, and everything. Everybody is learning a bit about you, and when they start talking to each other, they will know a lot more about you, from the aspect which we human don't realize. So that's where the level of personalization will as a trend. This is continuing to grow. It will have a serious impact on software development, on application innovations, on driving technology innovations as we go along. So, next trend, I wanted to talk about everything virtual. Now, this, of course, pandemic has been the I would say, the pivotal reason for us to think virtual. Obviously, there were times when virtual was still being enabled, and again, using technology, we are able to talk virtually. We can see each other, but now even to the concept when is coming to an end, kind of coming to an end. People have started going back to offices. Yet we have started living in a world which is more virtual in nature. Right? We are more consumed with social apps. We are more consumed with gaming apps. We are more consumed with, uh, let's say, media or entertainment apps. That's where we're living our lives more precariously. And if we look at with the direction what the big companies and IT have started focusing on, which is the metaverse. That's gonna take the level of virtual virtual to a level where your augmented and a virtual reality will be really close to you. For you don't even have to think about stepping out of your home. Your entire learning experience, education getting delivered through these technologies, your entire office interaction, your work, and you're building this entire virtual world around you. Whether it's good for society or not, something I don't want to comment. But yes, everything is being thought of when from the aspect of being virtual. So I don't really have to think about now buying products which I may not even need. So people have started buying digital products. No one is thinking about buying paintings. A lot of people are thinking just simply, why can't I just buy an NFT? I can create a creative and put it across on a metaverse and as an NFT, and somebody can buy and purchase that. Your currency, your physical payment modes have changed again into virtual. You have currencies, again, cryptocurrencies there, your Bitcoins, your Ethereums of the world. They are basically driving the entire transaction business models to a level where the registered organizations, entities have started accepting them as a mode of payment. So you don't really have to carry a physical card. You're not bound by a bank to ensure how your payment will happen. So again, everything is getting virtual. That's another big trend, specifically from the aspect of cryptocurrency, specifically from the aspect of metaverses, specifically from the aspect of leveraging these conversation apps from Zoom to go to meeting and so on and so forth. I don't really have to be in a physical place to be able to interact with a community which is spread to different places. Right? Maybe what may happen is in a year or two, we may have this kind of discussion happening in a metaverse. That's the level of change that is going to come. And that's something which is I want to talk about as everything virtual as a trend. Uh, Next, I wanted to cover something around the aspect of decentralization. This again is getting evolved basis the technology innovation, and again, has been at the front end of it. Wherein, and of course, when I think about decentralization, it is not about having things distributed at different satellite centers. That's a different business models, right? Those are different work models or uh, under which the organizations are operating. When we think about decentralization, is that we want to take control from one central body and get it distributed uh, to a level where no one is controlling it. I think that's where the concept of Bitcoin actually came in, which is mainly riding on the technology of blockchain, and that so decentralization is going to become a prime change in the upcoming years, and that's where everything will start getting decentralized. Currencies we have already seen getting decentralized. We are witnessing exchanges which are not controlled by any government body, are also getting created. So again, getting decentralized. We are seeing platforms which are getting decentralized. So you don't really have to be bound by a particular software vendor or an OEM to provide your capability to develop something. That's getting decentralized to a level where you can simply pick up codes and start using it, right? And start using it across distributed networks. So that's also getting decentralized. And I'm sure a lot more things may happen. I can't even imagine as to what will be the level of change we as a generation will be experiencing. But yes, everything will get decentralized. So that's where the concepts of even software development will start getting decentralized. You really don't have to think about following a certain methodology. I'm not sure that's gonna happen, but yet this is something that I feel will be of a key trend in the upcoming years. So this is as a theme. As I mentioned, I don't want to talk about the early trends. I want to talk about wanted to highlight what is really happening now. In 2022, you will find cryptocurrencies really rising up. You will find decentralized exchanges coming up. You'll find more we individuals trusting these decentralized systems and possibly putting our investments out there. And that's going to be the key trend for 2022. And finally, I wanted to cover a trend which is that everything will get democratized. What do we mean by that? It is not about democracy where we do voting to select the government or a candidate of our choice with whom we trust that they will be able to take care of us. We want to democratize everything from the aspect of senior management taking decisions to giving that power to the individual employee also to take certain decisions. Right? So that's the level of democratization. What's going to consumers? What's happening now is, let's say, if I give a very simple example of is there was a time when if you had to walk in to a Raymond store, for example, right? That's physical shopping. You would go in and you would consult a tailor who will basically take your measures and possibly guide you in terms of what cloth, what colors are available, what is trending in the market, and you will basically build an understanding basis the guidance that tailor provides, right? And then you will walk out with shirt or a trouser or a suit, whatever you want to get done, and obviously you will take size and tailor it for your needs. Now that was then. What do we do now? Right? The entire view of let's say want is coming back to me, right? When I'm doing an online shopping, I get a complete view as to what sizes are available. I get a view in terms of what are the trending cloth materials. I get to get a view in terms of what fashion uh, in a particular segment, right? I get a view in terms of what size will suit me, how much do I pay for, right? The entire decision process is not guided by a tailor, right? I'm democratized, or let's say I'm empowered enough to take that decision for my own. Same thing is also happening when it comes to enterprises. You are as individuals, you get a complete view of project lifecycle. During my days when we used to manage projects, we used to delegate work to individual uh, team players, right? Somebody who's possibly doing a front end design, somebody who's doing testing, and then you would convene and you decide a project plan, you allocate work, and then people would get a view. Now, we're democratizing the entire process. You're having these Kanban charts, you're having these agile capabilities, frameworks which are enabling individual developers to know what to do, when to do, how to do, and not too much of guidance on it. Right? So that's what is the level of democratization that's going to happen. Everything is being designed in a way which is empowering individuals to take decisions on their own with whatever guidance as needed. It is empowering individuals to be not dependent on other processes, other information to start to do their work. Right? Even the kids in today's generation, when they go to school, they're democratized to a level wherein they get homeworks being sent and onto their online accounts, and they can decide as to when to do. I don't really have to think about it. They will give a timeline. Teacher will possibly give a timeline of 3 days, and this has to want to do when to do that work, right? And he can simply upload it onto the web space which is being assigned to him. So these are few examples from the use case. So of course, every cycle right from cloud to level where we are ultimately achieving is to get to a point where you can democratize the entire decision making. Of course, guiding the individuals using AI/ML techniques and whatsoever, but be able to change uh, the entire process of or experiencing technology or changes around us is what I can talk about. That's what I wanted to cover, Prashant. I think I'm pretty much done from my side. Happy to get on with questions. I'm not sure if I've covered pretty much in 45
Yes.
minutes.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, we are on time. Thanks, Kamalji. We have a couple of questions. Let us take out those things. Just a second. Yeah.
Sure.
So, yeah, thank you. Thanks, Kamalji. So, Srijit is asking, in new technology trends, what is more challenging? Getting maturity in new technology or getting sufficiently skilled team to utilize all the new features in the technology to the best?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Uh, To be honest, I think we are moving from a world where um, so I think when we were growing, and I'm sure you also bring that in the concept that you need to be skilled or specialized in one area, and you need to be master of that. Uh, I think what is, and then there was obviously another school of thought, jack of all and master of none. Uh, I think the third area which is possibly coming up is you need to be master of all, right? The level of competition and awareness and knowledge is changing to a level where you cannot simply think about that I'll only learn one technology and I can become a master of that, and that'll help me survive through next 20 years. That will is not gonna happen, right? So you will have to continuously make sure that you're learning about these trends, pick trends which are closely aligned to your field of work. If I think about databases, when I started my career, we used to have MySQL, we used to have DB2, the RDBMS, and of course Oracle was there. Now I think if I have to think about databases, there itself would be at least 50 top of the line databases which industries are using, individuals are using at different scales. You have unstructured capabilities to manage unstructured data. The big data concepts of Hadoop, so you need to learn that. If you've evolved coming from an RDBMS world, you need to learn Hadoop, right? If you're coming from someone who's just learned Hadoop, basically manage a distributed file system, you need to learn NoSQL databases, right? You need to learn graph databases, and you need to be a master of that, because a basic understanding will not get you to a level where you can continue to survive. So it's gone, but at the same time, it's getting more simpler also. The technologies don't really require so much of coding, right? The libraries have evolved to a level where the coding needs are very less. The functions is what you need to call very smartly. The code lengths, the standard procedures when we used to write were like 2,000 lines and all. I don't think anybody write 2,000 line codes these days, right? So
True.
that's what's going to happen. But you need to be a master of all, is what I would say.
Okay, I think the second question by Hemant, I think it's in that line only. With so
Mhm.
many new trends, what steps companies are taking to keep their employees skilled to keep up with the latest trends?
Expecting too much from the organizations, to be honest. I think organizations are struggling or are either too aggressive to really think about as to how do I train my employees. The ownership of learning or being skilled is on us, right? And
Okay,
uh, to be honest, everything is at our disposal. If you can't take out 2 hours in a week to learn something new, how do you why do you expect an organization to give you that time, right? They can possibly get you
okay.
a subscription of Saba, LMS, and other things,
Hmm.
right? They can provide guides, right? They can even conduct lectures, but unless you are trained yourself, you will find it very difficult to be only reliant on organizations will their policies to help you train. You have to continuously evolve, you have to continuously learn, and you don't really have to be dependent on policies of the organization, because let's say an organization has put a plan for you, right? They would possibly say that 80 hours in a quarter you should spend on learning. Is that sufficient? There are individuals who are
True.
possibly spending 160 hours, right? So you'll miss out thinking that my organization is spending on my learning, and I'm sufficiently trained and skilled, but it may happen that they're only getting you to learn their technology. That may not be, what the market
True.
really needs.
Yeah. I think again this it's somewhat in the same line. Prashant Gulwadi asks, how do the CIOs and CTOs plan their business strategy with rapid changes in technology? Now, this is
Uh,
interesting.
I think pretty much they put these guidelines as the like if you wanted to talk about themes, these become the forefront pillars basis which around the strategies are built, right? So when CIOs or CXOs have to really think about building a strategy, they have to be also conversant about the key technological trends that are happening. They have to have an awareness. Let's say CIO cannot simply think about IT as a technology to enable a business, right? He also should understand what is the business, right? And he should understand how his understanding of IT will be able to enable or support a business need, right? So ultimately, they follow the trends. They also continuously learn and evolve. They continuously make sure that these strategies are keeping the foundations in play, which are of course gonna build a robust business. At the same time, ensure that the business continuity, the security of the data, the customer satisfaction, all those things are being put in place. So with these lenses, they start applying it to respective strategies. It could be also to, let's say, for something like somebody, a CEO is given a task who's been managing a big data center, hosting petabytes of data, but that is a personal data center where the costs are running into millions month on month. Now he's been given a task to reduce costs. So what strategy would he simply apply? He would basically apply a principle of, can I make everything in cloud? Can I take everything to cloud? That's first lens he would apply. Second, uh, when I do that, how much am I putting a risk around putting everything on cloud versus what I really need to attain? Right? Then look at my current legacy processes application. Are they AI ML enabled? Are they automated? Right? Are they decentralized? Are they democratized for my customers? I apply all those lenses and start prioritizing things and put a strategy in place as to what should I focus on. I think these are the things which a CIO does apply. Of course, everybody comes with their own personal learning, understanding, and experiences of their sector. So, I think they would be the best judge. I'm yet to get into those shoes.
Very true. Thank you. Quick, I think we are right on time, but still, I think we'll just take, in interest of the participant, one question. Please share your views on where technology is going in next 2 to 5 years.
Uh, I think I covered that. To be honest, technology. If I say IT, let's say IT very specifically, you will have multi-cloud coming up big time from a cloud and multi-cloud kind of aspect. That's where it's gonna become very pervasive in the business and very prevalent for us when we work. So you don't, as let's say if I'm into IT, I should know about Google Cloud. I should also know about Amazon Cloud, right? And I should know about the layer which is connecting that, which will be coming from Red Hat, which is an IBM company, right? So I should know about that. That's where what will happen is the service delivery aspect of it. What will other further happen? Like I said, hyper automation will happen, hyper personalization will continue to happen, uh, and then AI
Then
ML enabled.
metaverse, a lot of
Yes,
virtual.
metaverse is, I feel, coming to India. It'll take a little more time. May not
Yeah,
happen in 2 years or 3 years, but yeah, maybe within five it may happen. Yes,
it's
but
true.
let's stay away from it. Is what I would say. Personally, I'm an old school person. I feel physical meetings are much better.
Very true. Thank you very much, Kamaljit. Thanks for making time and delivering your thoughts, sharing your thoughts with the community. I hope participants had a great time listening, hearing to you.